Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event. In this corner, weighing in at none of your business pounds, undefeated and 303 fights, current world lightweight champion, the author, mother, grandma, and not your average wifey of 20 plus years, Dalys Collins. And in this corner, weighing in at a rock-solid dad bod pounds before drying after a shower, the contender, Jonathan loves to argue with his wife, Collins. Fighters ready. Fight.
Hey guys, we're back. This is episode 5, No Matter What. In this episode, we're talking about keeping your marriage together, staying best friends, staying a couple, not getting a D word. We don't even say the word. We don't even bring it up. It shouldn't even be on the table. Last episode, we talked about keeping your hands to yourself, and we talked about deal breakers and boundaries, the things that need to be established at the very beginning of a relationship so that you feel safe in knowing that your relationship will never go to certain places. So tonight, we're going to talk about the next level of no matter what. How do having those boundaries and having the keep your hands to yourself, how does that fit in with no matter what?
So in the Bible, it talks about forgiving, and you can always forgive, and you can forgive for whatever. We often, ask God to forgive us and think that we've been forgiven for crazy stuff that we've done in our lifetime. So if you put that towards your same spouse relationship and be forgiving, and then that's where, for me, that's where the no matter what comes in. If you felt that God, Jesus Christ, has truly forgiven you for whatever you've done in your lifetime, you should almost be able to forgive for whatever your spouse has done. So that's my no matter what. You were asking how, if you got boundaries, how do you have boundaries and no matter what?
Right. Because I don't want the listeners to feel like no matter what contradicts having deal breakers. So if you say, I will not stand for a relationship where someone physically hits me, like that is not going to happen. You've set that boundary. You're probably more likely to have a relationship where that never happens, because what happens is what you allow, and what you allow will continue. So what I'm saying is, for people that feel like that is contradictory, to say no matter what, and I have some deal breakers, how has that worked for us? Because those are two things that we have, and they don't contradict each other. We have never hit each other. We've never called each other out of our names. But some bad things have happened, and we've said no matter what. What's the balance, do you think?
Well, I think it has to do with the, again, forgiving part. Mm-hmm. We have a foundation of, believing that Jesus forgives us for things that we do, for mistakes that we make, for missing the mark, as it would be called in the church. So if we did something in a relationship and missed the mark, we should look for the other person to forgive us.
Yeah, I agree. With some boundaries, because if you would ever done anything to physically hurt me, we'd both be dead or in jail, because I'm not having that.
Well, I mean, that goes with, there has to be the fight in there. You have to believe in your truths, your your boundaries, that's why they're set. If you don't believe in your own boundaries, then yeah, they're going to be broken and they'll continue to be walked on.
Yep.
That's not the purpose of the no matter what. The purpose of the no matter what is going into a relationship with no outs. I hear so many people, the first thing they say is, if he did this or if she did that,
I'm gone.
Mm-hmm. To me, that's going in with an out. You're waiting
for something to go wrong. You're setting yourself up for failure. You're creating a way out of the relationship before the relationship has even began.
Yeah. So, start out by setting your rules. And I think the rules always start in the beginning anyway. That's the most important part.
Or they should.
Yeah. And that's what I meant. Like, they should start in the beginning. The most important part is, hey, let's sit down and let's talk about deal breakers. If you hit me out of anger, that's not okay. If you cheat on me, that's not okay. I don't know, if you smacked my grandma, that's not okay. And I know that sounds funny, but
we've heard it happening
more than once.
Yeah.
And then from there, that's how you start the relationship before we even get to marriage. There should be these boundaries set. We know of them as a betrothal process.
Mm-hmm, the betrothal process. Yeah.
And that's getting to know each other before you have had intercourse, before you have crossed the line, getting to know the no matter what's and the deal breakers. And then you move forward with it.
Right. I don't understand, jumping back to the last episode talking about physical abuse, how anyone could honestly say that it was a complete shock to them the first time they were hit. Because when you pay attention, people don't lie to you about who they are. People reveal who they truly are in the very beginning of meeting them. Not to mention, if you date someone for weeks, months, or years, you probably have an idea that they have some abusive, manipulative, controlling, any of those tendencies.
Yeah, but pay attention to what? I mean, most relationships start off by paying attention to how she looks or how he looks.
The physical attraction.
Yeah, it's got nothing to do with how they act. I would say 10 out of 10 is...
Even though how they're acting, right? How they're acting is present. It's there. The other person is clouded by their infatuation, that they're forgiving some things they probably wouldn't normally forgive in the regular state of mind if they weren't clouded with hormones and dopamine.
Yeah.
And they are not paying attention because of the butterflies emotions.
Yeah. And then, of course, sex, I mean, it clouds it for sure.
Instantly.
We have so many sayings that we say to guys, they're like, oh, man, she broke out my window and she keyed my car. And our saying is, it must be good. And that's crazy booty must be good. Because you keep attracting and you keep having sex with these crazy chicks or crazy dudes. Now you got a stalker.
Or the same one crazy chick that you keep going back to.
Yeah.
And this isn't even people that are married, that come to us. And we're like, first problem is you're leading this person on.
Yeah. You already had sex, before you had a relationship, really. And now you're leading this person on to... think that you love them and it just goes bad.
When you really don't want the full commitment. Yeah. Or there's so many issues involved that now the other person is in love with you, but you have so many issues you're not even ready to be married, not ready to be committed, but willing to go through all the drama and then crying about why life is so difficult and why nothing is working out for you.
So, in this episode, I mean, we're talking about no matter what, after talking about deal breakers. So we are speaking to married people and people that want to be married.
Yes, thank you for reeling me back in because we were going on a little rant there.
So it's very important that, when you're listening to this, you understand that we're talking about long-term relationships. We're talking about till death do we part. Mm-hmm. It's not about till I don't feel like it anymore. Mm-hmm. Or it has nothing to do really with how you feel. It's about marriage, and marriage is a covenant between you and God. The marriage really has nothing to do with our legal system. It started,
with God's legal system.
That's it. So, So have to step into that realm. And so if you believe Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior, and you've made some mistakes, and you've walked to the altar more than once, and then that's where the no matter what's come in.
I like how you said it has nothing to do with how you feel. Do you know how difficult a concept that is for many of the people that we counsel? Because when they think of marriage, we have been misled to think being in love and the love stories and the things that are fed to us through media and movies. And they believe that marriage is about feelings and don't understand when you start this, when you say I do, this is about actions, decisions, choices. Feelings are the very last thing that need to be considered. It needs to be a logical decision based on who am I? Who is this person? What have we learned about each other? Do we want to be partners for the rest of our lives? And are we willing to work through anything and everything, no matter what, on top of the boundaries and get guidelines we set for things that we just will not stand for?
For sure. So I remember, a couple years back, I listened to something and it said every relationship is the same. And I've repeated this over and over to lots of couples, married couples, couples dating, wanting to get married. The concept is if you treat your spouse like you treat your boss, then you'll get a raise. Mm-hmm. If you treat your boss like you normally are treating your spouse, you're probably going to get fired from that job. Mm-hmm. So you need to have an understanding. When we say it's not about how you feel, people get up and go to work and don't feel good, don't like their job.
But the bills have to get paid. They want to keep the job. They want a promotion. So their feelings they put on the back burner because they know a part of being an adult and keeping this job is going to have a lot to do with logic in their actions and choosing actions based on what needs to get done, not on how they feel that day. And for people that are led by their feelings, they end up getting demoted or getting fired because they're late every day because they don't feel like getting up, or they're whatever the case may be. They're not putting in 100% because they don't feel like it.
Right. And so the understanding is bringing a balance into, if you can keep a job, it should be no problem for you to keep a relationship.
Wow.
If you can build a business, it should be no problem for you to build a marriage and build a family.
So I'm just going to, mock is the wrong word. I'm going to use the verbiage of the people that we talk to. When you say something like that, typically the response is, you want my marriage to be regarded as a business? That doesn't sound romantic. That's not what I signed up for. What do you say to the person with that response?
Well, first of all, you need to go back and reread what you signed up for, because often it was something very touchy, feely, and it wasn't a covenant. And yes, no, that's exactly what I'm saying. If you do everything you can to please your spouse and to work hard for your relationship, then your relationship will grow and you will get a promotion from your spouse. You will also be on the top of their list. But it's definitely a mutual thing. We call it the thermostat. And that same thermostat can happen in relationships often, where one person is doing everything they can, but the other person is doing less. And you end up at the exact same point, and it'll switch back and forth. The first year, the wife was great and cooked every day and wiped the table down and did the dishes.
I'm like, wiped your what? I don't think so.
Washed your clothes. Not wiped. Wiped.
I'm like, where is he going with this?
And then, the next year she feels tired. And she's like, I'm not going to do it. So you're not helping enough. So then the husband starts kicking in, and now he's doing 50% of the job, but that still only equals 100. Whereas you got two people, it should equal 200.
Had I knew you were going to make that point, I would have been prepared with the exact quote out of my book. I don't even remember what chapter it is, but I talk about the thermometer in the book. And the example I use is with finances. It is so common to hear two people coming together. Let's say individually, they both made $50,000 a year. So now, 2 + 2 is 4. They should be making six figures, $100,000 a year. But one of them decides to get comfortable. Maybe their job changes a little bit, or they feel less independent because now they're the one that does the dishes and picks the kids up, and the other one, is at work more. So now instead of both making $50,000 or both contributing what you were contributing, the energy you were putting into life prior to, you completely pull back, the temperature drops, and now you guys aren't doing as well together as you would be forcing yourself to do if you were alone and all you had was you to depend on. But imagine if you came together and kept the same level of motivation that you had when you were by yourself. And to single people out there who aren't aware of the temperature gauge, this is something that happens. It's just
often. It's common.
Very often.
So I got a great concept for you. A lot of people in a relationship, in adding 1 + 1 should equal 2. But 90% of relationships, 1 + 1 = 1. That is the thermostat. You come in with your $50,000 a year, and you got their $50,000 a year, and it ends up at $100,000. And you're like, that, man, okay, awesome. But you get a promotion to $80,000 a year, and they get demoted to 20, and it's still $100,000.
Yeah.
It should be when you guys come in as a team and you build off of each other, both of you should be able to grow. So a couple years into your relationship, you should be at $200,000.
Right.
Because you came in and you're feeding off of each other and you're
versus
building
one
each
shrinking
other.
back because they feel lesser than in the shadow of their spouse who may be more of something, more extroverted or doing better in their position or whatever it may be. We've seen it happen over and over and over and over again in so many relationships where the husband's like, my wife was in the corporate industry doing well. She was killing it. And then she says she wants to be a housewife. Now she's home with the kids. And I'm still out working, bringing home the kosher bacon. And now she's not doing anything. The kids aren't learning. I get home from work. The kids are still in their pajamas. But if this was something she viewed as a job that maybe she was getting up in the morning, getting dressed for, and going to manage other people, she'd be a manager because she was a manager. She was excelling. So why is she not excelling in this position she says she wanted at home? Why do you think that is?
I mean, that the most common is complacency. Am I saying the word right?
Complacent. Yes.
Complacence. Is people get comfortable and in their mind they want to be comfortable. And when you say those words, you actually don't know what that means. That goes back to, what we're talking about. In a relationship, if you start off with the right words of saying, hey, don't do this, these are deal breakers, then it's easy to have no matter what. But if you don't start off with the right words, then it's going to be very hard to stay like, dang it, I know I said no matter what, man, but this is pushing it.
Yeah.
So it's the same thing in a relationship. They're like, when I grow up, I want to be a housewife. Like, all right, that's the most expensive job in the world. If you're doing it right, if you're the best at it, I mean, in the Hebrew understanding, you'll have about 12 kids that you now got to homeschool, and cook, and still be the wife to the husband when he gets off work, bringing home the food.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
And I only had one kid.
So you have to really sit down and think about, what you want in life and understand what that actually looks like. And I think, Housewives of Atlanta may skew
real life? No. You think?
I think, television may skew real life. I'll even, some of the older shows, and the husband comes home, hey, honey, how's it going? And she's like, good, I got your food on the table. It's
Is that your wife voice? Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah.
Are you talking about like the cleavers?
Cleavers.
Leave it to Beaver.
And then, like, is that how it is going to be every day? And is that real life?
And who in the relationship is expecting that? Because they're setting themselves up for
setting
disappointment.
themselves up.
Did you cook today? No.
No.
I was changing diapers all day, or I got caught up in this or that.
Why didn't you call me on your way home so you could pick up food?
And these things are not worth arguing
They're
over.
not.
If it's a repetitious thing and one person is feeling gypped, like, okay, you're not holding up your side of the bargain, you're not carrying, whatever we agreed to was going to be the weight that you were going to carry, then yes, a conversation needs to be had. But to have a huge knockdown, drag out, blow up fight because once in a while you come home and things aren't the way you think they should be, there's a problem.
I don't even say once in a while.
There needs to be more grace than that.
So not even once in a while. If you came home every day for a year and it wasn't what you were expecting, maybe the fact that you were expecting is the problem.
Yes.
Maybe if you got off and went and grabbed pizza and brought it home, that would just change everything. Like, hey, I got the pizza. Like, oh, crap. Okay, because, again, the purpose is 1 + 1 = 2. If you get home every day and the wife or the husband is just wore out and they're whatever, mental break. Some people need it, for a while. You never know, what happened and what's going on in different relationships. So figure out how to fill that void versus just getting mad.
Mm-hmm.
And then
so many arguments don't need to be had.
They don't. Bring home pizza.
Yeah.
Don't ask your wife what she cooked or is the dinner going to be ready. Just bring home pizza. When you get home, help with the homework. It's way easier to do that and way cheaper. Mm-hmm. Financially, mentally, to do that than it is to argue about it when you get home.
Yeah. So definitely an easy no matter what. No matter what these little disputes or disagreements, or you're feeling lazy right now, or you're going through a depression, those are definitely things to put under the list of no matter what. Should not be reasons that stop you two from working on your marriage. Because those are all expected things. Should be expected.
I'm going to give you some perfect examples. And people are going, what the? All right. Let's give some breakdowns. Can you stay in a relationship if you've been physically abused?
Are you asking me?
Yeah.
No.
No matter what, you can't stay. You're done. If you got smacked one time, you're done. It's over.
So done.
100%.
100%.
Handshake. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Check that one off the list. Can you stay in a relationship if you've been cheated on?
This is a long, drawn-out pause. I think that that's something that could be worked on. Only because, as I've revealed in the previous episode, I've already made that mistake when we were younger. And so for me to now say, no, I wouldn't stand for that when I know that that's something that happened at this point, because I feel we're in high school / college of growing into a mature marriage from kindergarten to college, it is different because at that point we were in kindergarten. So my expectations from you and from myself were at a different level because I knew we were far off from having everything figured out.
So who are we talking to in the podcast?
Right.
So answered the question in a 1 year, and then in a 3 year, and then in a 5 year, and then a 13 year, and then a 20 year. Give a breakdown so that they can have an understanding.
Absolutely. So in the elementary stages of a marriage, if you are in elementary, and let me explain this. Just because you've only been married 3 years doesn't mean you're in elementary. I know couples that got married first year, second year, they are way past where we were when we first got married because of the way they were raised, the understanding that they both had about life, and they came together running full speed at a whole nother level of understanding, maturity, and better communication. So they came in high school, whereas we had to figure a lot of things out on our own. And
we didn't have any examples.
Right. We didn't have
none.
Any examples.
None.
Yeah. So our son and daughter-in-law are a great example of a couple that got married and didn't start in preschool like we did, because they both came from households that had parents who have stayed married, the original parents, not even stepmom, stepdads. And so from there, they had a really good foundation and 2 support structures and a lot of information on what's acceptable, what's not, on the right boundaries.
So answer the question. You're beating around the bush.
No, I'm trying to paint the full picture. So in kindergarten, I think it's expected that this sounds really messed up.
That a mistake could happen.
Yes, that someone's going to cheat if you're in elementary school.
That's fine. Okay, so let's say hitting. So and then we're talking about our relationship. This doesn't have to be your relationship.
Right.
It's just giving some examples. Mm-hmm. So hitting, never. I didn't want it in mine. I said it at 14 years old.
Yeah.
Real serious conversation. Don't put your hands on me.
Mm-hmm.
And it was because I don't ever want to hit you. I am not the one that says, if you smack me, I'm not going to smack you back. I say, don't put your hands on me.
And he said that when we were 14. And I've said in previous episodes, we were 15. And then we had a conversation. We're like, that's right. We were 14 when we had that conversation. It was before you ever proposed.
Yeah. Yep.
You had to make sure first that I wasn't a crazy chick that was going to start beating up on you.
Gotta set those boundaries. Don't do it.
Gotta set them.
All right, so no hitting. Really, it should be no cheating. Now, again...
It should, and please don't feel like I'm making light of that by not... I just don't want to be... unrealistic based on all the people that we've talked to, all the marriages that we know about, and what we've been through and what I've shared.
All right, we're going to go to the next one, and then we're going to recap all of this. But what about financial? What if he has a gambling problem or she has a spending problem? Mm-hmm. Are those deal breakers?
I don't think it's so simple to say yes or no. Is the gambling problem, has it lasted for 1 year and then the person gives it up and then you guys grow from it and you become amazingly strong financially because of the lessons you've learned? Or are you 5, 10 years in and you're unable to grow and achieve your dreams because this other person's addiction is keep putting you in a bad situation? When we counsel couples, we don't have a black and white yes, no, yes, no.
For sure.
We need to hear their story and understand that.
Right. So to me it just it sounds very open, and I'm trying to close.
Okay. Yeah. So no open, completely closed. They're all deal breakers.
They're all deal breakers.
Hitting, cheating, gambling, addictions. All deal breakers.
So that was going to be my next one.
It is the grace of God when you get through it and a person decides to stay with you and work on it.
This is the exact point.
All deal breakers.
They are all deal breakers. They should all be talked about before any relationship ever starts. Hitting, cheating, gambling, addictions. Mm-hmm. They're very important before you get married. Let's sit down and let's talk about these, so that the other person understands that you have a level of
respect.
Mm-hmm. And then from there,
if you stand for nothing, you will fall for anything.
Exactly. So, if we use the Bible as an example, we believe in the laws of God. We believe in the 10 Commandments, and we respect them and we honor them. But do we break them? Yes. Yes, we've broken them. So is that same thing going to happen in your relationship, where that one person could end up, for whatever reason, you got smacked, or you got cussed out, or you got cheated on, or you got the person ended up with an addiction, or gambled away all of the money and the car was gone, or the lights got turned off. Yes, that could happen once. But if you had set some boundaries and you are in a building relationship, and there are a lot of pros, and you can truly look forward to a changed person, you can invoke the no matter what.
Yes.
You can say, hey, don't ever do this again. This was my one forgiving time for you to gamble all of our shit away. Mm-hmm. For you to smoke crack or weed. I don't care. Whatever the addiction was. Whatever. It could have been pornography.
Yeah.
That could be a deal breaker.
Yeah.
For you to cheat. Let's go through some counseling. Let's look into the history and the background. And if that person truly wants to be a better person, and it was truly a mistake, then I say you would be a liar to say you believe God's going to forgive you and let you continue walking, and you're unwilling to forgive.
So you brought up the counseling. What if, in the idea of no matter what, we're going to stay together, no matter what, we're going to work this out, what about the people that say, I had that attitude, I had that value, that principle of no matter what, my marriage is going to continue on, but the other person refuses to get therapy, to get counseling, either by themselves or to go with me? What do you say to that person?
If they refuse to change, then you have to start moving forward, in the no matter what. But refusing counseling to me is not a big deal. Refusing counseling and refusing to change are two totally different things to me.
Interesting.
You don't have to go to counseling to change. You don't have to go to AA to quit drinking.
Right. I agree with that 100%.
So
don't get caught up in the idea that they're saying, no, I don't need counseling. You need counseling. I'm not going, because you can't change them anyway.
Right.
All you can do is change you. So go to counseling by
yes,
yourself.
Because the counselor may tell you how to live with a person that has been through this.
Yes.
It may
which
not
completely
be.
allows that other person to now have the room to stop feeling maybe as judged or criticized.
Yes.
You change you, that opens the door for them to start making those changes. I want to say something real quick. To this point, there was a couple in particular. The young lady was calling once a month, once every 3 months, to update us on their situation. She was in a scary situation. They had since divorced. And he was still violating boundaries and doing some things that made her feel unsafe and threatened. They had children together. The last advice I gave to her prior to hearing from her again a couple months later was, you do everything in your power to be right. Right? The Bible says the word righteous. Do everything you can to be right. Don't do anything vindictive. Make sure you're staying prayerful often to not carry any hardness in your heart or any bitterness. And as long as you are walking the right path with the right heart, God will take care of him.
Yes.
Some months passed, our phone rings about 4 a.m. It was actually the night of Passover. We had just left a Passover dinner with our congregation. And that night, about 4 a.m., we get a call. I don't answer because I know that it's a wife, and I know that it's not good because it's 4 a.m. So I'm like, Lord, give me the strength. What is she calling to tell me? We talked to her maybe an hour later, and
she called me.
She called you after she called my phone. Yeah. What she calls to tell us is that he dropped dead that night. And I had not necessarily thought or what's the word? Even conceptualized that being what his demise would be. I honestly felt that, because I've told so many wives this, if you are doing right, and told husbands this, if you are doing everything right, that other person will leave. They will be taken care of in some shape or form because you will grow apart. It doesn't have to get nasty in the sense that you now get your hands dirty in the process of paying him back or proving him wrong. You can just be completely righteous and know that you are right with God in all the decisions you are making in the midst of a very terrible relationship, while the other person is messing up, treating you wrong, being disrespectful, abusing you potentially. And I believe 100% then they will be taken care of. If both of your hands are dirty, and I've used this example with a wife very recently in reference to my book. Imagine you're the teacher in a classroom and two kids are fighting each other. Both kids get expelled because both kids were fighting. But if one kid hit the other kid and the other kid put their hands up and said, please do not hit me again, and they removed themselves from the situation, there's not even a question of was it self-defense. It was an attacker and a victim. But when the victim fights back in certain ways, you make yourself liable to getting in just as much trouble as the attacker.
Right.
So,
because defense is hard to show.
Yeah.
It has always been. You can say it a million times, but to defend yourself is very hard to show when someone's walking up. Mm-hmm.
Especially if you go out of your way to defend yourself, it's not self-defense.
Right.
If you leave the safety of your home, your car, whatever that situation is, the grocery store, to walk outside and engage in a fight, You are now just as guilty as the person that made you mad, started it, threatened you an hour ago or 5 minutes ago in the eyes of the law, and I believe in the eyes of God.
Yeah.
You truly have to be defending yourself. And if you're doing it right, you'll be vindicated.
Yeah. So I have a concept. Again, maybe mines are a little bit different than most people would think. But here's a no matter what for me. If your wife or husband, we're going to start with one and let's say they have a gambling problem and you guys have lost everything due to this. The way to stay married and keep your no matter what is next time you change the access to the amount of money that person has because you see the issue.
Yeah, you set up booby traps.
Yeah. You help you still want to be married.
Mm-hmm.
You still love this person.
Mm-hmm.
You just know that, they're working on something. Mm-hmm. So you change the access to the bank account. You guys sit down and have a talk.
Yeah.
Say, hey, because you've had this issue before, if you're willing to work with me on, hey, we're going to change the accounts, you're going to work off of an allowance is what would be called, because we know you have this issue and we don't want to lose all of our stuff.
Right.
So that's one way, that's a gambling problem. If, accountability is huge in whatever, if your spouse has a drug problem, and that could be alcohol, that could be marijuana, that could be cigarettes. I consider them all drugs. Mm-hmm. And, that is not something that you signed up for, that you guys talked about. How can we help this accountability? And the purpose of a no matter what is that the spouse that's having the issue, whatever that issue is changing. It's not the every Sunday you go to the altar and repent for the same thing. You leave and you do the same thing. It's not, I punch my wife in the face and then I apologize. And then I punch my wife in the face and then I apologize. I cheat on my wife and I apologize.
God might drop you dead.
Yeah, it's not that. It's not it's not that at all. It is the mistake that was made, one, a mistake in the person's eyes that did it? And are they consciously doing everything they can to make sure they don't ever do it again? That's where the no matter what comes in.
Yes. And for me to expand on what I just said, no, I don't believe that God kills people. People always pick apart what you say. And you said this. Do you believe that? And I can't believe you said that. No, I don't believe that. I believe that we make the choices that either extend our life or shorten our life. The universal laws are the laws. God created the laws in the universe, and we get to choose. That's what I believe.
Amen. So God didn't kill you. He just gave you all the tools to kill yourself.
Or the tools to live a life abundantly, a fruitful, abundant,
right.
pleasant life.
This is keeping marriages together. My bad. But yeah, so the no matter what is...
I'm not getting out of this, so let me be smart about the pain I might be bringing into the situation.
Yes. What are my fights going to be? What was my stance from the beginning? And let's go back and reiterate those things. Be willing to forgive. Stay in the fight. And love, protect everything that you stand for.
Yes. And you have to stand for something. So if you haven't had the conversation on what you stand for and you're not sure what you need to stand for, get my book, Growing into a Mature Marriage from Kindergarten to College. It's available at DeliseCollins.com. We love you guys. Remember, the mature marriage was once the immature, sloppy, hot mess. We all have to start somewhere. Love yourself so you can love each other. I love you, and we will talk to you guys again soon.
This has been a Clear Cut Concepts production in association with the published work Growing into a Mature Marriage from Kindergarten to College. Available on Amazon.com, Target.com, eBay, and the Denver famous Tattered Cover Bookstore.
A strong marriage requires loving your spouse, even in those moments when they aren't being lovable. It means believing in them, even when they struggle to believe in themselves. Dave Willis.